Hello, everyone. So we have reached the start time of today's webinar. So welcome to everybody. My name is Steve Thorogood. I'm the e-assessment delivery specialist, and I'm joined today by my colleague Anna Howard, who's the head of qualifications, innovation and development. So the webinar itself will be split into two parts. I will kick things off by talking through the technical requirements of Rogo, as well as some of the exam day reminders. And then I'll hand over to Anna, who will provide a brief overview of Rogo and demonstrate some of the features that you need to know. You will see that we blocked your cameras and microphones. It's not that we don't want to see or hear from you. It just makes the session run that little bit better. If you have got any questions throughout, colleagues are on hand. Just pop them into the Q&A chat box throughout, and they'll be answered throughout. So getting started, in terms of operating system, if you're using a Windows device, it's Windows 7 or later you will need. If you're using a Mac, it's OS X Mavericks 10.9 or later. Rogo is only supported by Chrome or Edge. Some of the other browsers do not support some of the functionality, so please make sure you're using one of those. You must have a processor speed of a minimum of 2 gigahertz. Now, most modern laptops, you'll be absolutely fine. But if you are using an old laptop, older device, please check. The minimum internet speed you'll need to support Rogo is 5 megabytes per second. If you are unsure of your speed, you can do like a speed test check. Now these are free. You can just Google them. There's hundreds of them online. You can see the one there, which is speedtest.net. That will give you your download and your upload speed. So if you are unsure of your speed, you may just want to check that in advance of your exam. So with online exams, obviously not just your knowledge, but one of the most important things to have is a really strong connection throughout. Some of the exams are 3.5 hours long. So we strongly recommend that you use an Ethernet cable, which is a cable that connects your device to your router. This will give you a stronger connection throughout, so you won't have your broadband sort of maybe fluctuating a little bit. They're very cheap. They're only sort of £8. You can get them from Amazon or any decent IT store. The one on the slide there is 10 meters long, but you can get them up to 30 meters long. So if you are taking your exam sort of a little bit further away from where your router is, they are long enough to normally to reach where you're taking your exam. A reminder also about closing other things off that switch off devices that use up bandwidth. You can see some examples there: Kindle, gaming device, Netflix, Fire Sticks. Just make sure that they're not in use, even if they're in the background, just switch them off. And if you're taking an exam at home, just remind people that you live with that you are taking the exam, and for them not to use those devices that could sort of eat into your bandwidth and your connectivity. Couple of other reminders: just make sure you close any other programs on your device, and please make sure that the device is not due any security updates. The last thing you want is to get halfway through your exam and then you get the dreaded message in the corner which says the laptop is shutting down to do an upgrade. So just check that before you start your exam. And a final reminder there: it does sound silly, but please make sure that you have got the plug fully pushed into the wall, and you are switched on. Like I say, it does sound silly, but we have had students in the past who haven't quite pushed it in or haven't flicked the switch, and suddenly they've been kicked out of their exam halfway through. So in terms of Rogo itself, now we have two sites. There is a practice site, which is a sort of pinky colour, and this is where you can find your practice papers as well as your mock exam. Now, we do strongly recommend that you log into this site. Obviously, you have two practice papers and a mock that you can take multiple times. Obviously, it helps with you to get familiarised with the exams themselves. And obviously, it's practice as well, and you can see the questions and the answers throughout. The live exam site is a purple colour. Now, this is where you'll see you can schedule your exam, take your technical test, and there's also your specimen test. And this is, of course, where you'll take your live exam as well. We have had some candidates in the past who are searching for exam bookings and technical tests in the practice site. So just make sure you log into the correct one, especially on your exam day. So technical test. Now, it is really important that you take your technical test in advance of your exam. This is just to check that you can share your screen, your audio, your camera, etc., and your mobile device for invigilation purposes. And I'll come on to that just slightly later on. So even if you have taken a technical test in the past, you will need to take one for this session as well. So this in itself will be in the exam site. So that's where you'll find your technical test. You can see that there are three listed there on the slide. You don't need to do all of the tests if you complete the first one successfully. The other two are there just in case there is a failed one and you do need to retake it. So I'll just briefly run through what it looks like. So firstly, you're asked to share your camera, and then you place your head into the dotted area, take a photo, and then you repeat that step with your ID. You won't need your ID for the purposes of the technical test. It is just a test. You can just put up a pen or a bit of cardboard or whatever you want. And finally, you just need to check that the camera's working. So just make sure you can see yourself in the square on the screen. So I mentioned mobile invigilation. So from March 2025, SITFA introduced mobile invigilation for all online exams. So mobile invigilation, it refers to the use of using mobile technology to monitor and supervise the exams in real time. So you can use a smartphone, tablet, or any other mobile device, which basically enables our invigilators to monitor not just the front screen, but also the examination environment. And obviously this helps us ensure students are adhering to our strict exam protocols. So firstly, what you need to do is to make sure that your mobile is connected to a Wi-Fi network, enabling airplane mode. And then obviously to avoid interruptions during the session, you also need to switch off your notifications. You'll then be prompted to scan the QR code, and this will link your camera on your device to the exam platform. And then once you're connected, you follow the on-screen instructions. And this will be things like showing your environment around your keyboard, the corners of your room, under your desk, and also your ears, just to make sure there are no hidden audio devices being used. So here's just a couple of screenshots of what it looks like. So once you scan the QR code and connect, it allows us to see two views. So you can see the bottom one, which is the front-facing camera, and the top one, which is the mobile device. So here's another screenshot. So this is a student who's, they've been asked to show us the ears, just so that we can check that there's no audio devices in there. There's no earphones being used. So you can see how it helps the invigilator when they're invigilating your exam. So once you've done all of the checks, you will need to place your mobile device to the side in a secure position. Obviously, make sure it's propped up against something that is stable. You don't want to keep knocking it off during your exam and being interrupted by the invigilator. So you can see here, we can clearly see your exam environment as well as the device that you'll be taking your exam on. So if you've been successful throughout your technical test with each of these steps, then you click yes and finish. It is really important to undertake another test if you do change or update your device, or if you change where you'll be taking your exam. So again, that's another reason why you have 3 technical tests in your account. So in terms of scheduling your exam, obviously students can self-schedule. We don't give you the times specifically when you have to take your exam. So you can self-schedule. This can be done up to 4 calendar days beforehand. So just here, just for information, these are the self-scheduling deadlines. So if you have a exam on Monday, the 2nd of June, the deadline is the 29th of May, Tuesday the 3rd, Friday the 30th of May, and so on. So just make a note of when your exam is and when those self-scheduling deadlines are. Just a reminder that when you do schedule your exam, it is on the exam live site, which is obviously the bluey purple one. And make sure you've selected your correct time zone. So this will enable you to schedule in your local time. So as you can see here, you select your invigilation type. Now, the vast majority, you will be remote invigilation. Local invigilation is only available for students in pre-approved exam centres. And obviously you then have the option to choose your time. If you do have any issues and you do need to reschedule your exam, you can change your exam time again 4 calendar days prior to this. Okay, so you can click on the update button and then you repeat the steps that I've done in the previous slide. So a quick reminder also about the specimen test. Again, this is within your live exam website. This gives you the opportunity not to answer questions, but you can take it as many times as you like. It helps really familiarize yourself with the Rogo in advance of your exam. So you have the specimen test, you have the mock exam, and the practice paper tests on the practice site as well. So we do strongly recommend that you take the opportunity to do these as many times as you can. It will really help you prepare for your exam. So just some reminders. So you must use a single monitor. Now, if you do want to use a larger screen, you must shut your laptop and ensure you have a webcam fixed to your monitor. Um, we have had a lot of candidates in the past who think they can use two screens, but we can't invigilate if you have two screens open. So, as I said, if you do want a larger screen, you must have a webcam fixed so that we can see you throughout your exam. Just make sure your room is well lit so that the invigilator can see you at all times. And a reminder also that headphones are not permitted. And another reminder also about emailing and messaging. So make sure that Teams and emails are shut down. It's strictly prohibited that you use them, so you can't have messages popping up throughout your exams. They are recorded, all exams, for the purpose of upholding examination integrity. So if there are any signs of malpractice, obviously they'll be noted by the invigilator and they will be reviewed by our compliance team. Final reminder about eating, smoking, vaping. They are not permitted during your exam. You are allowed bottled water. So as it states on exam day, so when your exam day comes along, please log in 15 minutes beforehand. You will not physically see your invigilator, but you will receive instructions throughout the chat function. So that's how you'll communicate with them. You'll then be prompted to complete the mobile invigilation setup. Once you've done that, obviously you need to show the ID. Please make sure it's on hand. Sometimes it can be so focused on your exam that you forget it. And a reminder also that to visit the bathroom beforehand. If you do need to go throughout your exam, the exam time will not be paused. If you do need to contact the invigilator throughout the exam, you just need to use the chat function. And if you are unfortunate enough to get disconnected during your exam, please reconnect as quickly as possible. The exam time itself will not be paused, but answers are saved every 30 seconds. So if you are disconnected, you will not lose a lot of work at all, only the previous 30 seconds. If you do have any exam issues on the exam day, then you've got some contact details there. So there's a telephone number there, or you can contact us on email, hello@sipfa.org. So just make a note of those, just in case you have any questions or queries on the day of your exam. So in terms of what you're permitted in your exam, so there's the three things there, or the three things listed. So a calculator, physical calculator that can't be a phone, tablet, or watch. 4 clean sheets of blank paper, so no notebooks or anything like that, and a pen, a pencil, and an eraser. Other reminders, obviously, it goes without saying, there's no searching the internet during your exams. There's no copying of questions. And of course, the use of AI is strictly out of bounds. As I said, exams are recorded, so malpractice is captured. And you need to familiarise yourself with our full assessment regulations, which can be found there on the email address, or the link, should I say. So in terms of results, so once the exam is complete, results can be accessed on both MySIPFA and Rogo. To view your results on Rogo, you need to log in and click on My Results, which is a little button in the top right-hand corner. What you will see is your exams listed, so any of your exams previously taken as well, but you'll need to see the outcome and the score, which you can see there. Unfortunately, this student failed with a 40%. Now, if you want to have a breakdown of your exam, so to see the questions and the answers and the model answers, you can click on the report button on the right-hand side. Now here you'll see how you scored on each question. So a question in green means you scored maximum marks. A red question means you scored no marks. And a yellow question means you scored some marks. So once you've seen that, if you want to break it down and have a look at the question itself, you can click anywhere within the question tab. So here's some examples. This is a question which was a green question, a green answer, which means it was answered correctly. You can see the the question itself, what you answered, and obviously the feedback at the bottom there, which shows the correct answer. So moving on to question 2, this was answered incorrectly. So this shows that the candidate, what the candidate answered. So which of the following is usually a function of a management accountant? This student answered the calculation and organisation's final liability for taxation, which is an incorrect answer. You can see underneath there, the feedback was answer number 1, which is providing cost information. So you can see what you answered and what the correct answer was. And finally, here's a yellow question, which means it was partially correct. So it's pretty much self-explanatory. You can see here, this is where Rachel was asked for to choose whether it best applies to financial accounting or management accounting. So you have the 2 options there. You can see the first answer, which was produced as required by management. Rachel, so the student went for financial accounting, which was incorrect, which is why it is red. And so forth. The second answer was correct. They went for management accounting, and so that was a green answer. So you can see throughout, the right and wrong answers. Now, if there are longer form questions, some of the essay and spreadsheet type questions, you will also be able to see your answers and the model answer. Unfortunately, if I tried to put it on a slide, it looks really, really messy and it's not very helpful. But rest assured, you will be able to see exactly what you wrote in your paper and what the model answer was, as well as your mark. So that's the end of my presentation. Obviously, the final thing here is just to wish you the very best of luck. I will hand you over to Anna, who will answer any questions that have come in. And like I say, I wish you the very best of luck during your June exams.
Good morning, everybody. So let me start off by running through some of the questions that have already come in, because they may help others of you on the call. We've had a query about when you need to do your technical tests. There's a deadline for those, and you need to do those within the first couple of weeks. You've got 3 technical tests to do. So we do recommend that you do a technical test in the environment in which you're going to sit your exam, using the same Wi-Fi, being in the same room, etc., all of the same equipment, to make sure that that works okay. There's a query on the fact that someone's forgotten their login for the practice site. If you contact us at qualitycompliance@sitfa.org or hello@sitfa.org, we'll be able to come back to you on any usernames and passwords for the practice site if you don't have them. In regards to entering the exam before the start time, yes, you can. I will show you in a minute the screen that you'll be presented with, but the start button will not appear in the bottom right-hand corner until your exam start time. In regards to Teams and the fact that you've closed it down but notifications are still popping up, you need to make sure that the application is properly closed, and also, as a fail-safe, turn off all of your notifications. The scheduling and the exam times. So you may have 2 times on your emails. We've got BST and UTC. So we are currently in British summertime, and UTC stands for Coordinated Universal Time. Now, there is an hour difference between those 2 times in the UK here at the moment. So it's currently 10:19 BST, but it's actually 9:19 UTC. If in doubt, Google it to double check exactly when your start time is. Yes, you're allowed a scientific calculator in your examination, but you are not allowed a pre-programmable calculator. Okay, so there are all the questions at the moment. What I'll do is I'll go through my presentation, and then I will come back to any questions afterwards. Let me just find the screen that I need. So hopefully you can see my Rogo screen now. It says welcome Anna, and it's the purple site, because the purple site is my exam site. So you won't have quite as much to navigate on your screen as I've got. It's because I'm special. What you'll do is you'll see your examination, and you will see the start button, and it will bring you to this welcome screen. On your welcome screen, it's got your instructions there. So it reiterates the exam that you're sitting. So this is the Public Sector Financial Reporting webinar exam that I'm sitting. Yours will have your exam title and the month. So it will be June 2025. It shows you how long you've got allowed in your examination. So I've got 12 days and 12 hours. Unfortunately, none of you will be lucky enough to have that long, but it tells you how long you've got. There's a really clear instruction there at the top about not using the browser back button. So that button up there in the top left, which everyone's used to using to go backwards and forwards between screens in an internet browser, you're advised not to do that in the examination. Please make sure you use the next button, which I will show you when I get into the platform in a second. The exam instructions then go through what to expect in your exam. So this particular exam is 8 questions worth 5 marks and 4 questions worth 15 marks. And it reiterates how long you've got to complete your exam unless you have reasonable adjustments, in which case you will have additional time potentially. You're allowed 4 pieces of blank paper in the examination, a calculator and the advanced materials if you're sitting the Developing Strategy and Data Analysis exam or the Strategic Case Study. They need to be blank and clean copies, so no notes on your advanced materials. And you need to make sure before your examination that you've got no hats and sunglasses, you've got nothing in your ears, etc. We then go through what you need to do in your examination, which is to make sure that everything you want marked is contained within the marking window of your examination. We'll show you that if you're disconnected, you need to resume as quickly as possible. If you have problems resuming, then please call us on the Sit for telephone number and we will talk you through that. And that you need to assume that everything you're presented is arithmetically correct. If you make any assumptions, then please state those in your answers. There are then a number of functionality that are available to you in the examination: a highlighter, strike through, a calculator, a reading ruler, a notepad, spreadsheet workings, flagging and unflagging questions, a navigation button, and then some different exam materials. So we will go through those now with you. Now, before you press that start button, the final paragraph talks about our assessment regulations and our associated policies, that it's your responsibility to have read and familiarise yourself with these, and that by pressing that start button, you're agreeing and accepting those terms and conditions. So please make sure you familiarise yourselves with those policies and procedures. They are all available on our website. That start button will appear when your exam start time comes up. So if you're starting at 10, at 9:55, that start button won't be there, but at 10 o'clock in the morning, that start button will appear. You press start and it will take you straight to your first question. So you can see that it tells you that you're on question 1, that this question section is worth 5 marks. It tells you that this is question 1 of 12 in that top purple bar, and that the time remaining for me is 12 days, 11 hours and 59 minutes. There is also a next button to progress to the next question in the top of the screen on the right hand side, and also at the bottom of the screen on the right hand side. This particular exam has a purple button down here that I'm highlighting on the bottom left. This is where you would find any pro formas or formulas or advanced materials. So we call this a exam paper exhibit. So not all papers have these, but things like business reporting, public sector financial reporting, taxation, MA have different pro formas and formulas. If you're sitting DSDA or the strategic case study, you will be able to also access a PDF version of your advanced materials. So this is here for you. This particular exhibit has 2 tabs, so please make sure you're able to navigate between those 2 tabs. You're able to pick this up and you're able to move it around your screen, and you're able to close it down as well. There is a calculator available to you, so if you wanted to use the calculator on the screen, you're able to do that, but you're also able to use the one on your desk. You are not able to use your mobile phone as a calculator. There is a reading ruler that's available to you. So if you were reading large amounts of financial information and you needed to check that you were reading across the correct rows, that might be quite useful for you. There is a notepad for you. So this is a notepad that you're able to plan your answers. However, this is not marked. Okay, so this is not marked in the exam. So any content that you want marked needs to be contained within your examination window. You've also got a spreadsheet that you're able to carry out simple formulas. If you need to, but again, this is not marked. Please do check and familiarize yourself with this particular tool if you're going to rely on it. It looks like Excel, it smells like Excel, but it doesn't quite function in exactly the same ways as Excel. So there'll be certain formulas that are restricted and certain functionality that's not available to you. So please check that you understand the functionality that is available to you. Where you've got three little dots, if you click on that, you'll find additional functionality. You've got different tabs, very, very similar to the new Excel, where you can move between. You've got a number of formulas, auto sums, and different bits and pieces. You can show your formulas if you need to, which might be useful for you to copy and paste into your answer sheet when you've pasted the answer. You've got a flag, so I can flag a question if I wish to come back to it. And very importantly, you can navigate between the exam. So if you were sitting this particular exam and you wanted to start on the 15 mark questions, just press that navigation button and go and start at question 9. Just because it brings up screen and question 1 doesn't mean you need to start at question 1. So please do sit the exam in the best way for you and your particular examination style. This is a standard drop-down question where you're asked to select true and false. You'd be presented with information in questions, and you may then have normal multiple choice style questions that you're able to navigate through. You can see where that grey scroll bar there is on the right-hand side, where you've got additional information above and below the screen line. Another drop-down style question. You may have a drag and drop style question, but the functionality operates in very, very similar ways, where you're being asked to select particular answers from those presented to you. This particular question, it explains to you that the exhibit above covers the necessary financial and business context to answer your question. So in this particular question, you have a question level exhibit. Where you have an exam paper exhibit, that's down here in the bottom left corner of your screen, and it's the same throughout the entirety of your exam. Where you have an exhibit in the top left hand corner of your screen, it's applicable only to that particular question. So you can see here that to answer this question, you need to open up the exhibit to find the financial information. This might be where your reading ruler is quite useful. If you need to make sure that you're reading that 550 is the correct figure for support work, then you might want to use that ruler. You can close that, you can move it around the screen, however it's easy. This is a essay style question. You can see here that the stem is on the left and the answer box is on the right. You've got that grey line there, which means you can move and make that answer box bigger or smaller if you want to. You're able to type your answer here. You are able to, using the shortcut functionality of Control-C and Control-V, able to copy and paste from your notepad. You're able to copy and paste from your spreadsheet. Please make sure when you're trying to copy and paste that you're pasting in the answer box. So you can see there that the answer box has got a blue outline around it. If you are trying to copy and paste underneath that blue outline, it won't work because you're not trying to paste in your answer box. So please make sure if you are using the copy and paste function, the notepad and the spreadsheet, that you're pasting into the correct area. You've also got in this particular word type functionality a number of things that you'll be familiar with. You can align and your text. So if I wanted to type in the middle, I can use the alignment. If I wanted to use bullet points, I can do that. If I wanted to realign that over to the left-hand side, I can do that as well. If I wanted to insert a table to put my answer in, I'm able to do that as well. So there's quite a lot of functionality there for you. Please make sure you're familiar with it and you know exactly what you want to use in your examination. On these essay style questions, you've also got that functionality to highlight particular parts of the question if you want to. You can also strike through particular parts of the question once you've done them. So by using that button there, I can strike it through. If I want to clear all of that, I'm able to do so. What you're not able to do is use the highlighter or the strike through functionality in the PDF pop-ups. So that's only for where the question is contained within the screen, not when it's in a pop-up. Another essay style question. You may also be presented with spreadsheet style questions. So you can see here that this is a spreadsheet style question. You've got the spreadsheet for you embedded. If it's embedded within the screen, then obviously that spreadsheet will be marked. You're able to use the same Excel type functionality with formulas, etc. But we also do encourage you to include any workings. Now, there is quite a lot going on in this screen. So we've got this question level exhibit that you're able to move around. So you may want to drag that down to the bottom of the screen. You may want to be checking things on the formulas or the pro forma spreadsheet as well. So you may need that over there. You may have your spreadsheet workings open. You may even have your notepad open at the same time. Now you can see if you've got a lot going on, it becomes quite complicated. Now we're unfortunately not able to allow you access to a second screen. There is no exam software that can invigilate more than one screen. If we could give you two screens, we would, but we're not able to. So what we do encourage you to do is make sure you do use that practice site and that specimen test and practice how you're going to navigate the system whilst you're in your exam, because there is quite a lot going on. It can get quite confusing. The more you practice, the easier it is to understand where you want to put things and how you want to use the functionality that's available to you. You'll also see that when I scroll down here to answer my question, I can no longer see my clock. Okay, it's your responsibility to make sure you manage your time in the examination. So please be aware that if you've scrolled down on the screen to answer, you will need to scroll back up to see how long you've got remaining. So just have an awareness of that. Obviously, I've got a clock on my computer laptop here as well, so I can see that it's 10:33 on the 21st of the 5th. So you've got that available to you as well, but that countdown clock will be at the top. So please make sure that's available to you. If I go back to my navigation screen, you'll see here that I can go back to my first question. I can see my flag. I can finish that question off if I need to, and then I can unflag the question. If that question is flagged when you finish your exam, it doesn't matter. Everything that you've attempted will still be marked. The examiner will not see what you flagged and unflagged. When I go back to my navigation, it tells me what I haven't seen yet or what I've not completed to make sure that you've attempted everything. And then when I get to my final screen, you'll see here that this is an essay style question, but you've got some text boxes in which you need to answer. There's quite a lot of additional guidance for you here. So you can see here that if I wanted to start a new line in Excel, I would need to use Alt and Enter so that I could scroll down onto a new line. So if you wanted to use paragraphs, you'd need to use Alt and Enter in the Excel document. So again, as I said, please familiarize yourself with the functionality. Please go in and play with it and practice, because it is complicated and you don't need to be learning the system for the very first time during your live examination. When I'm finished, it will either close your window down for you because you've run out of time, or you can press that finish button. When you press that finish button, it will bring you back up to your navigation screen, and it's basically saying, this is what you've done. Are you sure? Are you really sure? If you do want to go back to a flag question or something that's incomplete or not seen, you're able to do so. But if you are ready to finish, you just press that finish button and it comes up with a sigh of relief, and it will tell you when your results will be released. You obviously won't see this question analysis on the live exam, but you can see that in your practice papers and your specimen papers. Okay, so that's the demonstration of the system. As I said, we do encourage you to go in and practice as much as possible. Now, let me just open up the questions that have come through since I've been doing the demonstration. So some questions there on the BST and UTC. As I've suggested, I think you just need to double check and Google it. So if your exam was at 10:30 BST, that would be 10:30 UK time as it stands at the moment, but that would be 9:30 UTC. Okay, so if you're in the UK, just go by BST, and that's your normal start time. 10:30 is 10:30 BST. If you're an international student, you need to double check using UTC as to what time you need to start in your home country. If you have any concerns during your exam and you're unable to communicate with the invigilator because you've had a network issue, then you need to ring the SITFA telephone number, which you can find on the website. You might want to save that in your phone. If you want to use a bigger monitor in your examination, you can do so. So you would need to be able to shut down your laptop. So you may need to check the settings in your laptop to make sure that the additional screen and monitor will work when the laptop is shut. And you will also need an external camera on top of your monitor. So at the moment, I'm using my laptop to speak to you, so I'm looking directly at the camera. If I was using the monitor, then I'm not seeing you directly. You need a direct front profile for your exam. So I would need to get a USB camera that's connected and sat on top of my monitor to the right of me, so that when I'm looking at the screen, I get that front profile. You would then have your mobile phone to the left or the right of you, which is able to see your hands and your keyboard and a proportion of your desk. The invigilation and the exam will start when you press that start button. Okay, please make sure you check and use your technical test to begin. There's a lot of information in that, but when you press the start button, that's when your examination will begin and start. Yes, you can zoom in and out on the Rogo platform when you're undertaking your exam. There's very similar reasonable adjustment functionality on the screen. So yes, you can go in and out, but you cannot use any other applications whilst you're sitting your exam, unless you have a reasonable adjustment and you're using something, for example, like a screen cover, or you're using software to read the exam to you, but that would need to be pre-agreed through a reasonable adjustment. And yes, you are allowed 4 blank pieces of paper in the examination, but you've got that notebook available to you as well. Okay, we have gone through. Okay, there's one more question that's just come in. If you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat now, because else we'll finish up the session. Yes, please let the examiner know if you're going to the toilet. Just pop a message in the chat to say that you're going to the bathroom. They should come back to you immediately. If they haven't come back to you within a minute or two, then please do get up and go back and come back as quickly as possible. They will note if you're absent and away from your desk for a long period of time. Yes, you can sit your exam in an office that's got tainted glass. Ideally, you would be sitting so that nobody can see into the room and nobody can see, and you can't see out of the room. So if you can get an environment like that, then that would be ideal. But tainted windows are fine as long as you're not going to be distracted or disturbed and no one can show you anything through that glass window. Yes, we do advise that you use a Ethernet cable to connect to your laptop where where possible. I'm connected now to my broadband, although I've got fiber broadband. I'm sat here, I'm next to the router. I just connect using a cable because it just gives me a much more stable connection. So we do advise that you use a Ethernet cable for a much more stable connection. Yes, as we've covered in regards to the additional screen, then please, you can use an additional screen, but you would need to shut down your mobile, your laptop, and have a USB camera on the top. No, you cannot use Google Translate during the examination. You are not allowed any additional applications in the examination. The fact that English is not your mother's tongue does not allow you to use a dictionary or Google Translate. So please do not use any additional applications within the examination. Okay, there are no unopened questions in the chat function. I will give it another minute or so just to enable anybody that's still typing a question to let that come through. But if there are no more questions that come through, then all that's left for me to say is to wish you good luck in your preparation for your exams between now and the first week of June. Please make sure you go onto that Rogo site. Please make sure you practice how to use the system. It's invaluable to you and will save you a huge amount of time in the examination. And then wish you good luck. Yes, you can take medication during your exam, but please just show the box on the camera so that we know what you've got and that it's prescribed medication or that it's paracetamol, etc. Okay, I'm going to shut down this session. Good luck in your exams and your revision over the next couple of weeks. If you've got any further queries or questions, please do pop them through to hello@sitfa.org. The exam length depends on the exam that you're sitting. So the strategic case study is 3.5 hours, management accounting is 2 hours. Please check that yourselves through the programme specification, the documentation you've been provided with, and through the practice site. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to close down the session. Good luck.